Hey, now we turn to wine and a new company that is helping Aussie grape growers better predict yields and weather. The technology from The Yield could help transform food and farming practices globally, and they've just signed a deal with Treasury Estates. Here to tell us more is founder Harvey, who joins us now in the studio. Roz, thanks for coming in.
Sam. Hi, Elliot. Great. It's great to be here. Exciting, actually, to be here. It's been a while since I've been in studio anyway.
Yeah, no, we're enjoying having everyone face to face.
Yeah.
Now, tell us about The Yield and the technology behind it. What are you guys doing?
Sure. So, look, The Yield, basically we're solving for the problem of uncertainty created by weather. And everybody who sells in and everybody who buys out from a farm is basically affected by this uncertainty problem. So what we do is we measure in real time the 14 variables that drive all agricultural models. Then we use AI to provide this highly localized prediction. And we don't just stop there, we put that into really simple, easy to use apps to help people, irrigate, plant, feed, protect their crops better. But the really exciting thing which we're doing with Treasury is we're then taking their own historical data, combining it with all this weather data and using AI to predict their yields right down to the block level. And we do it with a high degree of accuracy.
Wow, that's amazing. So Treasury Winery, for instance, could use this data and using their historical data, say, well, look, back in 92, we got this many bottles, and you could say, well, based on next year, you'll be able to get X amount.
Kind of like that, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, look, really what we're doing is those historical data sets that reach back decades, they actually record information about what the outcomes for yield were at block levels. And then because of our capability with weather, we create these synthetic data sets on what the local weather conditions were and combine those two things together and use AI to then predict sort of region, variety, site, right down to the block level. And so the way that our customers use this sort of technology is knowing what you're going to get in each variety means that you can make the best possible wine, because you've got a fixed asset, which is that processing plant, and you've got to make sure in the winery that you've got the right varieties at the right time in the right amounts. But also customers can use this to help them optimise their logistics and manage their contract buying relationships, because they grow a certain amount themselves, but then they still have to get access to contract growers to make sure they've got the right amount to keep the winery really operational. So it's a classic supply chain problem. And what's super exciting is, and this is where AI really is unlocking a lot of potential, is a lot of our customers, which are typically large corporates, they have a huge amount of data. They're really sitting on a treasure trove of data, but often it's in silos and they can't put it to work. And what we're really good at is basically taking that data, combining it with the weather data, and actually creating value to solve different problems for them, both on farm and in their supply chains.
So you just mentioned your corporate clients. So Treasury Estates isn't your first big commercial deal. Are there other applications for the technology outside of the wine industry, or is that what you specialise in?
We really specialise in intensive irrigated crops. And so there's sort of 5 crops that we're focusing on. Berries, where it's already announced in the market that we've rolled out our technology for Costa, who is the largest berry producer by a very long way in Australia. Wine, obviously, and then we're also looking at apples, citrus, and edible nuts, principally almonds. And so these 5 are our initial target crops. And really we're working with the biggest producers who, it's no secret that corporate growers, particularly in Australia, are very large. And if you look at it by value of production in the supply chain, the classic 20-80 rule, where 20% of growers are doing 80% by value of production. But really importantly, they're the ones who often have great data sets because they've got corporate business systems. And really what we're saying to them is put that data to work to create a more sustainable and more profitable business.
And I guess as well, going forward, using that AI is going to be almost vital as the changing weather patterns will become harder and harder to predict.
Correct. When you talk to any grower on farm, what they'll say, this year it was like, a year back in 5 years ago where we had the same weather conditions that bud burst or flowering. And what they're constantly doing is adjusting for what their experience. And really what we say to our customers is, imagine you've got a supercomputer sitting on your shoulder as your best friend. So instead of you having to kind of remember and imagine, you can actually do that with data and crunch it through and help them make those better, faster, more confident decisions based on data.
Now, what's the next step for The Yield? Is your technology and programs applicable overseas? Have you looked at overseas markets yet?
Absolutely. In fact, our technology is very exciting. We actually hold the Australian and US patents for predicting microclimates using AI. which is really super important. And so you can imagine all those crops that are grown in tunnels and grown under netting, they actually don't, the normal weather service doesn't work for them. So we can create an in-tunnel under netting weather service that they use to grow better. But so we hold the US and Australian patent, and we have 10 other patents pending in relation to this. And we're already certified our technology, our hardware technology, into the US market. So we're now already doing pilots into the US with customers there. And the great thing about this technology is it's what we call extensible. We can apply to any crop, and it's also scalable. We can sell from here into other markets using the technology and the team here. And that's very, very exciting.
Well, thank you so much for taking us through it. It does sound really exciting, and I'm certainly looking forward to seeing where else you'll go next.
Yeah, no, we're looking forward to it too. So great
Thanks,
to be here
Roz.
with you
Thank
today.
you.